and I'm going to start again. Okay, so I'm Cheryl and I teach the computer classes at the main library. And today's class is Introduction to Google Docs. And Google Docs is a word processing program that you get for free when you get a Gmail account. When you get a Gmail account, it's not just a free email account. It comes with a bunch of other apps that Google owns. Google basically bought the companies that made the apps because they liked them. And they wanted to, oh, good. Our person says that they got the sound back. Okay. So Google bought up these other companies that made these various programs, and they include them for free when you have your Gmail account. And Google Docs is the one that's like Microsoft Word. It's like a stripped down, simpler version that doesn't have quite as many options as Microsoft Word does, but it's free. And you can email the documents to people, let people have access to them. All of these documents that you create in a Google Docs are stored on the cloud, which means they are stored on Google's computers. Okay. And you can give people access to them. If you know their email address, you can email them a link to it. And you can let them read it or edit them or both. Now, the thing I do want to emphasize is these are not secure and private documents, okay? Because they are stored on Google's computers. Google has the right to look at them. Google or anybody that gives you the service and stores the information on their computers, they have the legal right to look at the stuff to make sure that you are not doing anything illegal with their systems. Now, that doesn't mean they will, but there's always, you know, the chance that some employee will decide to start, you know, looking through people's stuff. So don't do anything sensitive on Google Docs. If you have to, then create it on Google Docs, download a copy onto your computer, and immediately delete it. It's still not quite as secure as it would be if you did it all on your own computer, but, you know, we got to do what we got to do. Okay. Okay. All right, so I'm going to share my screen. And I will show you how to get into Google Docs and some basics. Now, one thing I do have to tell you is when I am in the process of sharing my screen and I'm clicking on stuff and looking around, I'm not actually looking at the bottom of the screen where the chat messages pop up for me. So if you have a question, you might, and I don't respond to it right away, you might want to unmute yourself and say it verbally and then mute yourself again. To catch my attention more. Or under your participants tab in your name, there should be a little thing that let you raise your hand. That's usually a little more obvious because it appears in the top left-hand corner of my screen. Okay, so, or I don't know, maybe it's that way for you if it's left, I don't. Okay, so I'm gonna share my screen. Then I am going to switch to Google. Okay, when you go onto Google, if you are already logged in, or if you go to your Gmail, whatever, whenever you log into your Gmail or into Google, up in the top right-hand corner will be your initial. Oh, we've got another person entering. Okay. All right, so when you log into Google or Gmail, in the top right-hand corner, you will see your initial based on whatever name you gave them. And then you will see a set of dots in a square. That's the Google apps. That's all of the free stuff that you get when you get a free Gmail account. So we click on that. Somewhere in the list will be Google Docs. It will be Docs. And here it is. And it's the logo is a little blue paper with white lines on it. And it says Docs. I do recommend you go through all of these just once and see what you get for free while you're in here, because they have Sheets, which is their version of like Excel, Slides, which is their version of PowerPoint. So you've got a lot of interesting stuff here, because we all know Office products, Microsoft Office products are so expensive. Use the free ones if you can. Okay, so I'm going to click on Docs. And you get this first page here. Now, these up here at the top are templates, okay? And you can actually go through and scroll through the template gallery. And then these are ones that are pre-designed, and then you can just fill in the project, the information that you need. Resumes is what most people use the templates for, but I recommend you go through the template gallery so you can see what's there, so that you don't recreate somebody else's work. You know, no reason busting your rear end trying to format something properly when somebody's already made it and you can just fill it in. So you have resumes, letters, a recipe card if you're wanting to make a recipe scrapbook, things for work. As you can see, there's quite a few of them, and I'm just going to click the back arrow to go back here. Down here where it says recent documents, these are ones that you have opened up in the past. Now, this one I own. These two, somebody else owned them and gave me access to them. And you can click here to see ones that are just owned by me, in which case it's just this one. That's one I created and not owned by me, which are these two, which means I cannot delete those two. Well, I can remove them from my list, but I can't actually completely delete them. This is what somebody will see if you share your document with them. Okay. Now I'm going to click here where it says blank with a plus sign. That's how you create a new document, and you click on it. Now, like Microsoft Word, you get one page that you can scroll up and down with. And if you get to the bottom, more pages will be added. Up here where it says Untitled Document, that's where you give it a name. So you click in that box, erase what's there, erase that entitled document, and put whatever you want here for. And I'm going to hit enter. There we go, and it takes it. And this automatically saves it. Okay, you don't have to worry about doing a file save because this usually will automatically save it. There isn't even actually a save under the file like most products usually have if they're on your computer, so you don't have to worry about that. I don't know if you can use symbols like slashes or apostrophes or whatever. You can't normally, so I would just stay away from any kind of punctuation unless it's a single dash. Okay, that's a straight line. Most systems will take that. Okay, now you have a toolbar right up here at the top that has most of the normal things that you use all the time. This is kind of like what you would see on the Home tab in Microsoft Word. Then you have your document here. On the left-hand side here, it says Show Document Outline. If you do that, I don't have anything here, but anything that you choose, say, a title or a heading for, will appear over here as part of your outline. Your just general normal text typing will not appear over there. So you can click on it and then use the arrow to get rid of it if you want to see that. But normally it's only anything that you do as a heading or a title or subtitle. which may or may not be what you're wanting to do. So I'm just going to go through these buttons and tell you what they do, and if they have a corresponding thing in Microsoft Word. So this is your undo button. Your undo button is always your best friend. That undoes whatever mistake you just made. And I love that button. That is my favorite button in the entire world. Okay. Redo. This one is if you undo something, then you can redo it. So if you want to flip back and forth between two things to check and see which one you like better, you can undo it and then redo it and undo it and redo it. Okay. Now, when you, this is the print icon. It's supposed to look like a little printer. When you do that, it gives you a couple of options. You can open the document up in the browser itself and print it from there. Or you can open it up with Adobe Acrobat Reader as a PDF, or you can save it to your computer. That's the only place where your save is. You know, but you do have, you don't necessarily have a save, but you do also have a download. If you want to save this document to your computer, it automatically prints it out in a PDF. You can open it in Adobe Acrobat with a PDF. If you choose, let me choose that. If you choose Open with Firefox, it will be an HTML file, which is a web page. If you choose Save File, we can show you what that ends up with. You will be able to choose what it is, where to put it, and see here where it says a portable document format. It saves it as a PDF. Which will be opened by Adobe Acrobat, which is a free program that most people have. However, if you want to save this as if it were a Microsoft Word document, that button is up under the word File. So you want to click File, and you'll want to click Download. Download lets you choose what format you want to save it in. Microsoft Word will save it in the format that can be opened by and edited in Microsoft Word. So if, let's say, you're doing something at home and you don't have access to Microsoft Word, but you want to finish working at it at work, you can download it in Microsoft Word, take it on a flash drive to work, and then keep working on it there, or access your Gmail at work and download it. So that's how you save it as a Microsoft Word format. Okay, and I'll go through and tell you and go through more of the things on the file after that. After we finish here, I'll start up with the menu bar. By the way, this is a menu bar here because when you click on it, and the thing drops down, that's called a menu. So that's called a menu bar. This is, you can call it a toolbar or a ribbon. Different people call it different things. Okay, so what else we've got next after the print is, this is your spell check. I have found that the spell check is kind of spotty when it comes to catching things in Google Docs. I deliberately tested it, and I had to do it a couple of times before it would recognize that I was making a mistake. It kept telling me the grammar check was fine when I know I had a misspelled word. So I never put much stock in spell check anyway. Because sometimes it doesn't understand the difference between like there and there, THERE and THEIR. So use it with a grain of salt is what I'm saying. This one is supposed to be a paint roller. Paint format is if you create like a headline that is bold and size 13 and green, and you want to copy that and make other ones in that format, it will copy the formatting, the color, the size, the font, etc., without copying the words. And it will let you just like run over the other words and just copy the formatting to other words that you've already typed. Okay, this is your zoom. Now in Microsoft Word, your zoom is in the bottom right-hand corner with a little slider bar. Up here, this is where it is. So 50 is half size, 100 is full size, and you can even zoom in double if you want. Okay, normal text. This is to put things on that outline. If you choose anything but normal text, it's pre-made styles, pre-made sizes, and fonts, etc. For an outline. I don't usually use that. I usually use normal text for everything. Arial, this is the font style. Now this will not have all of the ones that you will see in Microsoft Word. It's very limited. Any of these ones here that has a little triangle next to it, you can get different versions of that. The ones that do not have a little triangle next to them don't have, that's just plain Arial. I prefer Arial. That's just the font I prefer. I prefer ones that are clean and easy to read. Just as a warning, if you choose Comic Sans, a lot of people out there hate Comic Sans for some reason. I think it's because a lot of teens and kids like Comic Sans. So by the time they're quote unquote adult, they come to hate Comic Sans. I like it, but you just be aware that if you use it, people might not like it. This is the size. It automatically starts with size 11, which is a little bit smaller, I think, than Microsoft Word. I think Microsoft's Word size their default size is 12, but you can always do plus or minus, and it has a little list here if you click in it, but you are not limited, just like Microsoft Word, you are not limited to the ones on this list. If you want size, I don't know, 33, you just type it and hit enter and it will work. If I want size 150, hit enter, and your cursor will change to correspond to that size. So I'm gonna click 12. I like 12, unless I'm doing flyers, in which case I like 14 and 16, because, you know, I like to have people who, size 14 would correspond to a large print book. Size 12 would correspond, 11 or 12 would correspond to a normal print in a book. And think about it that way. These are bold, italic, and underline. So if I type something, and it works just like Microsoft Word, if you type something, to the aid of their country. And if you've ever taken a typing class, you know that sentence. I had to do that hundreds and hundreds of times in my typing class. It's a speed drill to get your speed up. And if you select something just like you do in Microsoft Word, excuse me a second. Sorry, I have some sinus problems, so I'm a little coughing a little bit. Okay, so if you want to select something, you can double click on it or click in front of it, hold the button down and pull to the side and let go. And whenever you've selected something, it will be kind of highlighted in blue, so you know what you've selected. And let me try if the shift button will work. Yeah. Okay, and just like Microsoft Word, if you click in front of something, hold the shift button down and use the arrow key on your keyboard. Click, 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 click. It will also select. This is good if you have trouble selecting things with the mouse. Once you've got something selected, that's when you can apply the bold, italic, underline. And you can click it again to turn it off. This A with the line under it, that's the color of the text. And you can choose any of these colors here, and it will do that. You can also choose a custom color here, in which case it will have a rainbow. This is similar to how you choose a color in Word, but in Word, the entire rainbow is here, and then you have light and dark on the side. Here you have the actual rainbow down here, and you click somewhere on there where you want the color. Like if I want a green, I click here. And I can click or keep clicking to slide it down, or I can just grab this and slide it there. And then this dot I can pull down here to whatever color I want. Now, whenever you, excuse me, over here is light, over here is darker, and then dark down here and over here. So light and dark, pale, and kind of saturated. So well, you can see the colors, you know, and you just pull it to where you want a color. So if I want a dark green, I'll pull it down here. But I want a dark, strong green. If I did over here, it would be a darker sage green because those are more muted. And if I do that, I'll click OK. And now you'll see, it's kind of hard to see, but it is a dark green. Frequently, if you want the color to show up better, you can actually make it bold, and that will actually make the color stand out a little bit more. And now once you have chosen a color that's custom, it will now appear down here. So you don't have to worry about having to find that same color again in this document. If you want it, like on page 3, you want that same color, it will be right here under the custom. Now this will not stay for another document. You'll have to do this for each new document. Each document has their own custom colors saved. This next one is the highlight marker. And you have many more colors than you do in Microsoft Word. In Microsoft Word, you only have, I think it's like 12 colors that you can choose from. But you have pale colors here. You have different colors. I like the pale colors behind dark lettering. You always want to keep in mind contrast. If you have dark colored words, you'll want a pale or bright or pale highlight color so that it will show up. Because if you choose a dark highlight color, well, it's kind of hard to read, isn't it? So I'm going to click undo to undo that. So when you think about highlight colors, if you really want to use a dark color, go back and change the color of the letter to white, the text color. Change that to white if you want to use one of the dark backgrounds. Okay. Now, the next one is a link. That is to put in a web address so that they can just click on those words and it will take them to a certain web page. So let's say good men, if I want to do that, I could, if I wanted to go to the library's website, I would highlight the words I want to turn into a link, click that button and type or copy and paste the link. So. And it actually does an internet search for that. And so I click on it and I click apply. Now, if somebody does that, it will take them. If I save this and send it to somebody, they can click on it and it will be a link right there that they can then just click on and take them to that web page. This here is an add a comment, because you can give other people access to this document. That makes it easy to kind of edit, share editing. So you can make some changes and tell the person, hey, give the person access and say, hey, could you proofread mine for me? you know, and maybe you'll, okay, I'm going to undo my link and my highlight. Okay. So maybe I want to say, instead of men, maybe I want to add, I want to tell somebody that they should think about making this men and women, since women are in combat now too. So I would highlight that part. I would click the plus sign and I would add a comment. Maybe consider adding and women and comment. So now it will be highlighted in yellow, which should not print. When you go to print it, that shouldn't print. That's just a little thing to show that there's a comment on there. And then they can click on it and the comment will be over here. Okay. And then you can reply back to them saying, well, yeah, normally I would, but this is a standard old-fashioned typing phrase, and maybe I don't want to add that because that wasn't politically correct back then. So, and then I can reply to it. Yes.
Where is that comment going? Is this just
it's just staying with the document so that anybody who has access to the document can see it. It will not print out. When you go to print the document, it will not print out. This is just a comment for editing.
Okay.
Yeah. If you, you can even make a comment to yourself. Let's say you're working on a novel and you've got a paragraph that you're not sure about. You can like highlight it, put a comment to yourself saying, maybe I should think about doing this from the other character's point of view.
Okay, so it's like a note.
It's just like a note. Yeah. Yeah. There's no actual, you know, it's not actually going anywhere. It's just staying there. And if you want to see what it looks like, over here on the right over here on the right hand side where there's a little thing, it says editing mode. We are currently in editing mode right now. If you want to see what it looks like, you can change that to viewing, and you will see that this is what's actually going to print out.
Mm-hmm.
Not the that yellow highlight that showed there was a comment and no comments. Just the thing. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. And if you and since that takes away my toolbars, I can go back to view mode and go back to editing to get back to here. Yeah, so this just a little comments are just a little notes for editing purposes or whatever. Okay. This next button is to insert an image. You have two options, just like you do in Word. You have the option to upload it from your computer. If you already have a picture on your computer that you want to put there, you can do that. Or you can search the web for one. Or you have other options you don't have in Microsoft Word. If you saved a picture in your Google Drive or your Gmail or your Android Google Photos, or if you have a web address for the picture. And because this can be accessed from your tablets and your phone also, you also have an option for camera. Now that won't work on me right now because I'm using my computer, but if I was using this on my iPad, I could click that, take a photo with my iPad and put it in here. Okay, so if I wanted to insert a picture, I can search for an image, USA flag, let's say, and I'll select one. And And let's see what does. Oops, I shouldn't. Okay. Okay. I double clicked on it, by the way, to get it. And then I can click on it, and whenever you click on an image, you'll have these little dots around them. Those are actually called the handles. I call them the stretcher dots because you can click on them and use them to shrink or stretch your pictures. And you can choose to do it different ways for it to be with the text around it. I'm going to show you because I'm going to put in more text here. Let me copy and paste this several times. So, okay. So I just copied and pasted it around there several times. And you'll notice when I copy and paste it, it copies and pastes the comment too, so that the comment moves with the word, by the way. Okay, so if I click on this and I choose this first one, it is in line with the lettering, which means it treats it like one big letter. It's in this line like a huge letter. This middle one here wraps the text around the picture, which most people find a little bit more pleasing. This one breaks it so that it's not in line with the letter or on any of the lines. It's just there's some above and below. And then if you have this wrapped around or in line, you can set how much margin is around it. You want bigger space, there you go. And you can either fix the position on the page, or if you copy and paste more of the words around it, it will move so that it goes with these words, depending on which one you click. Okay. And so that's how it treats images. You can actually click on it. Unlike Word, you can click and drag it around. Of course, in Word, you have to do the wrap text to be able to drag it. If you choose inline, it still doesn't look quite as good. Right. So, and when you've clicked on it, you'll notice you have different options up here. This is the equivalent of Microsoft Word's drawing tab. Whenever you click on an image, you get a drawing tab at the top. So whenever you click on an image here, you get a few other optional extras. You can add a border color, a size, change the size of the border, make it a dotted border, crop the picture, just like you do on your phone. Replace the image with something else, but keep the same spot. And then you have options over here where you can do more fancy stuff like rotate it, and more options of wrapping the text just like we saw before, but more specifics, more specific adjustments. You can also rotate it from here. This little circle at the top, the little dot there, that's your rotator. Okay. That you can, anyway. All right, so that's all the image options, and those options here will go away when you click on the words again. And you're back to the normal tab or the normal toolbar. Okay. The next things you've got here is alignment. This is left is, it's all lined up on the left-hand side. Here is centered, to where all your words are in the center. Here's they're all lined up on the right-hand side. And it applied these to the entire paragraph because I didn't hit enter on any of this. If I'm like down here at the end and I hit enter to go down to the next line, then it will, so I'm gonna, I hit enter to get a couple of things, and I'm, pretending this is typing. Okay. If I choose this and I change it to left alignment, this one is still aligned over to the right, because this is the alignment for the paragraph. And it goes for anything that you have typed and let wrapped around. And then once you hit enter, you're in a different paragraph. Okay. Yeah. Okay, so then the last one you have is justified, which will take and line up the left-hand side and the right-hand side, which is useful if you're like, well, I mean, if you're doing columns or newspaper kind of newsletter things, you might find it nice to line up along the edges. But that's this button here. So left, center, right, and they call that one justified.
Did you say that's only for the paragraph?
Yes, it's for whatever paragraph that your cursor is in the middle of. So if you want the entire document to be that, you will have to select everything in the document first before you hit the button. I think there's a button under edit. There's a select all, which will select everything, and then you can click that button and it applies to everything. But unless you select, unless you do edit select all, that button will only affect whatever paragraph your cursor is in the middle of at the time. Okay. Okay. All right, and the next button over is the spacing. Now, single space is what we normally consider, one line at a time, but you'll notice it's actually set on 1.15. For some reason, modern computers seem to like a tiny little bit of extra space in between the lines. So what we consider single spacing back, when we were typing, is not what it defaults to nowadays. So because of the way it looks on screen, when it looks like on screen, they single spaced is a little too close together to comfortably read on a computer screen, which is, this is single spaced. So that's why it is spaced slightly farther apart than single. But if you want to print it out single spaced, you can actually change it to that. Okay. You can also double space here if you're doing a computer college class. If you're taking a college class and they want something double spaced so that the teacher can write comments in between the lines, there's double space there. You can add extra spaces before and after paragraphs, and you can choose custom spacing. We also have a couple other options here, which I don't ever bother with. I just leave those alone because I'm not doing anything weird with my lines, but you can play around with those and see what they do later if you'd like. Then you have 3 dots. In computer speak, 3 dots is more options. This is just because it doesn't have enough room on my screen to show the whole line. So here under more, you actually have your bulleted lists and numbered lists where you can do a list. So if I click that button, it automatically gives me a 1 and it jumps in by 1/2 an inch. Well, it puts the number 1 at 1/4 an inch and my cursor is at 1/2 an inch. And then I can type a list milk. And when I hit enter, it automatically goes down to the next line and gives me the next number. Eggs, bread, and I hit enter. When I'm done with the list, I hit enter again, and it goes back to the normal way. Now, for those of you who have used Microsoft Word and tried to do lists, Microsoft Word is annoying when it comes to numbered lists, because if I tried to start up another list in Microsoft Word, even though I've added extra space here and I wanted to do another 1, 2, 3, Microsoft Word would actually give me a 4. It's annoying. Yeah. And there's some tricks you have to do to get around that. But in here, they're actually better. This is the place where it's actually better than Microsoft Word, because if you click that again, it actually really does start over with the 1. Yeah. Now, if you do want a 4, if you say, oh, I forgot spaghetti, you can click at the end of bread and hit enter, and it will give you the 4, and you can put spaghetti. I think I'm spelling that right. Okay. Now, if you want it to be the second one here, that's bulleted list, and bullets are dots. And you don't have to select the entire list. Whenever you're in a list, it knows these go together. So if you change it from the numbers to the dots, all of them change in that list. Now you have triangles next to these two, which means you can choose the style of them with how you want the numbers to show, or do you want Roman numerals or whatever. You'll also notice they have different things here that are inward. If you are, if you like want to specify what kind of bread, you can actually hit enter under bread and hit a tab, and then it changes it from the dot. It goes in a little bit. Whole wheat. And spaghetti, you know, hit enter, tab. I hit enter to go down, and I hit tab. Not angel hair. Or whatever, you know. And if you hit enter again, you'll go to B. So if you want to do some sort of description of that, if you just hit tab on the next line, it will go. And the same thing, if it's a numbered, it will also be A, B, C here. Yeah. Whoops. Okay. These two buttons here are to scooch things. It's the decrease and increase indent. If I click on this line here and I wanted to scoot it over, I could click that right increase indent, scooch, 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 click, click, until I get it where I want it. Basically, what those buttons do are you're actually changing the left-hand margin just for that line. It's like hitting the tab. Yeah. Okay. Now, this button here will clear the formatting. So if I select this whole paragraph here, remember I had some green bold come to the aid here. Those are all green and bold. If I select all of this, whoops, and I click that button, it takes away all of the formatting stuff that we did over here. Doesn't take away the comments, just the colors and if I had chosen a fancy lettering style, I think that would revert it back to Arial also. If I undo that, I undid that because I want to show you one other thing. So let's say I also have, let's say a different font, and I want this one to be a large size. I was going to tell you what this does here, paint format. I just had to wait until we actually changed the formatting on something before I could show you this one. So we're finished with that end of the list here. We're going to go back to this one here that we skipped. So if I have this one, let's say I'll make it really big and I'll make it on that font. And I want to copy that. So I will click that. I will choose that. And that I've now just copied that format. And now if I move down here, you'll notice I have the paint roller stuck to my line. And I can just select something. And whatever I've selected will be in the same format. And now the paint roller's disappeared from my little line. So if I want to do it more than once, I believe I can double click it. And then then my paint roller doesn't disappear. I can do it over and over again until I click the button. You see how it's turned blue? That means I double clicked on it and it's staying on until I click it again. And now the paint roller's gone from my little line.
So does it like copy over? Is that what it's?
No, it's just copying the formatting style. So this formatting style is Arial. Let's see. No, this is Impact, size 19, bold and green. And so if I did that and I selected this and then I highlighted this part here, see, it doesn't copy the words.
Right.
It just makes that Impact 19, bold and green. So I'm going to erase all that formatting. So I'm going to select all, and then over at the end, remember, I'm going to do the clear the formatting. Okay. Okay. Also, to get, you might want all of these comments gone too. If you are done with the comments and you want to erase the comments, you would just click on that, come over here to the comment and choose the more options here with the 3 dots, and you can delete the comment. Yes. And every time I copied and pasted it, since it was all one, what we call a thread, it deleted the entire thread because I had just copied and pasted that word over and over again. So it was all technically the same comment. Okay. Is that all making sense so far? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Now I did show you one other thing under editing mode. I did show you the viewing to see the final document without all the stuff around it. To get back to the view, you click view, mode, editing to get back. Now the other one is called suggesting. This is the mode you want to be in when you are in somebody else's and they want you to proofread their stuff. You don't want to make any permanent changes to their stuff. You just want to, if they don't just want you to have a comment or a note, they want you to actually change something. You can actually go under suggesting and change that to suggesting. And now, if you want to put here, let's say if I put and women, you're actually editing it, but it will show up in green and it will tell them who did this editing. Okay. So it's basically to keep track of who edited what. That way you can go in and multiple people who have access to this can go in and edit and change things, but everybody will be able to keep track of what parts everybody else edited.
So it's just under that comment.
The comment is if you want to put a note to yourself or to somebody else. This is actually physically making the changes, but noting over in kind of a comment. noting as a kind of a comment who did that change and what they did.
Into it again, I'm just, how did you get into that for suggesting?
Over here, yeah, editing is normal. Suggesting is where when you edit something, it will keep track of who did the edit and what they changed.
Okay.
Yeah. That's so when you're doing collaborative work. Now, if you wanted somebody to proofread your stuff, I wouldn't want them actually just physically making changes. So I would just want them putting a comment in there, a note to me, so that I can make the changes and decide if I want to make the changes. But if you are actually working collaboratively with someone to create this thing, you both want to be able to make changes, but you just want to keep track of who did what when. That's the suggesting mode. Okay. So you have editing, which is normal, suggesting, and then I can click the X. By the way, you can click the X and get rid of that change and automatically undo the change. You're rejecting the suggestion. Yeah. Or if you click the check mark, you can accept that change, and the note will go away and it will just be part of the regular document. So it kind of lets people make changes, but lets you control whether you accept or reject them. It's a little bit more than a comment, but a little less than just straight out editing it.
Does Microsoft Word also offer this? Very similar, or is it something that only Google does?
Well, it depends on what version if you're working with the actual one on your computer, they do have something called tracking the changes, which does something very similar, but not as easily. The online versions of things, the online version of Microsoft Word, I believe I have not used it, but I've heard that the online version is easier when it comes to collaborative editing like this. But I can't say exactly how it is because I have not used it. But generally speaking, anything on any of the online stuff where you can share it with somebody else is usually easier for multiple editors as a general rule, because Microsoft Word was created, the actual computer version, the PC version was created a couple decades ago, and some of the underlying ideas behind it show. It's not as good for collaborative work. The collaborative part of it is not as easy. Okay, but it does have a place to track the changes and markups.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So that's everything on the toolbar or ribbon, depending on what you want to call it. Technically, a toolbar is the skinny one. This is a toolbar. If it has more than one row, it's usually called a ribbon, but I think Google Docs calls this a ribbon because Microsoft Word does with theirs. So let's go up to the menu bar, which is the words here. The first one is File. Share is when you want to send a link to somebody. You can share it with somebody else. You can add their email address here. Control under this little settings here. You can control whether or not they can change the permissions and share it with somebody else. If you uncheck that, people can edit it, but they can't share it with anybody else. If you uncheck this, people can view it and comment it, but they cannot print, copy, or download it. So if you don't want it to get out, you would uncheck that. And that's under the settings here when you share it. Okay, so basically you just kind of add people from, you add the email address, or if you've got a group mailing list set up in your Gmail already, you can type that in here. Or you can just get a link. Right now it's set to only people that you add up here at the top. Oh, hold on. Right now it's set to say only people added can open with this link, which is these people up here. You have to add them first before you can let them do it. If you want to change that, if I click here, it will change to anybody I send, anybody who has the link can get into it. Now you can choose viewer, commenter, or editor. Right now it's set to viewer, which means anybody I send a link to can get into it, but they can't do anything. They can only read it. If I change to commenter, they can add those comments and notes, but they cannot actually physically edit anything. If I click editor, they will have full access to edit it. So over here under viewer, that's where I would change what I want these people to be able to do with this. Okay. Now what I can do is I can click copy link, and now I can get into my email and send it to somebody and paste it in my email, and they can click on it. Or if I click back up here, if I click here with add people or groups, generally speaking, it will open up the contacts in my email, my Gmail account. This does not access to anything with, if you have Outlook or Yahoo or whatever, this does not get a hold of those people. This is strictly from your Gmail. So if this is a person I work with, so if I wanted her to have access to it, I click on her. I have added her to the people who can access it. I'm going to change over here. I don't want her to edit it, but I want her to make comments on it. I want her to proofread it, but not make the changes. So I'm going to change her to commenter. And now I can actually click here and send her a message saying, hey, Elena, here's that document I wanted you to proofread for me. Just put a comment anywhere you think there's an issue, and I'll do it. Thanks a lot. And then I can click send, and it will actually send them an email from my Gmail account to this person with the link, or with the link to the document, and let them make comments on it. So this basically is to get it, you know, and you can actually add an email address that's not in your contacts. If you know it, you can type it in straight there. So here you can get the link and do it yourself, or you can have them send the link for you. And you can do something similar in Microsoft OneDrive. If you've uploaded a document to your cloud storage, if you have Outlook, you can actually share it with people that way, the same way you do here. This is just more closely tied into your Gmail, to your email account, than the Microsoft products are. New, this is like going back and hitting that plus sign where we did at the beginning. Open, this is if I want to open up something I've already got made and come back to work on it without closing this one down, or without having to go back and open it. I can make a copy of it, which I can then, I guess, send to somebody. I can paste it into something else. Email here, I can email it right there. And you can either choose, you can email it, we'll email it as a PDF. Usually this is if you are finished with it and you want to distribute it, you can email the PDF. Now they can't edit this or anything, and you can choose to send yourself a copy if you'd like. So you have two different options to email it to somebody. You can share it, which has a little bit more control, or you can just email a copy of it for them to read. I already went over the download, where you can choose Microsoft Word. Open document, this is for if you want to send it to somebody who has something called Open Office, although they can do this Word too. Rich text format, that's an older style with just the text. It does not save any pictures if you do this as rich text or plain text. That does not save the pictures. PDF, that's the normal thing that Google Docs does. You can save it as a web page or epub. An epub is something that can be read by an ebook reader, like a Kindle Fire or a Kindle or something like that. That's what an epub is. Okay, version history. You can save different versions, different changes and things. I don't usually bother with this. You can rename it here, or you can just click up here and rename it up there. Same thing. You can add this to your drive, your Google Drive, which is their storage. You can move it if you've got different folders in your Google Drive. You can move it around between the folders, and you can delete it here. You can also delete it from that first page. This, by the way, this symbol up here gets you back to that first page where we started up Google Docs, the one with the plus sign and the templates. This will take you back here, and you can delete it from there too. Okay, I'm just going to try and go through as many as I can before I have to, because the library closes at 7 and I have to be done at 1:45. So I'm just going to go through as many of these as I can. Edit has the undo, redo. Here's where you also have your cut, copy, and paste, which most people are used to being in the top left-hand corner of their Microsoft Word. You can also, these things over here, these are the keyboard combinations that will equal that. So if I select something and do Control X, that's the same thing as hitting cut. Control C is copy, Control P is paste. Paste without formatting, that will take away, that will clear the formatting from your text as it pastes it.
Those are the same commands with the Mac as well.
Macs, I'm not sure if they're, most of the cut, copy, and paste, I believe, are exactly the same, except they don't have a control button. They have a little Apple symbol button. It's a funny little, I think like a clover leafy kind of thing, if I remember right.
I've got a control button.
You got a control button. Okay, so the original Macs didn't.
Okay.
Okay, so yeah, that would be the same. Yeah, these are within the online system. So it doesn't matter what computer you're using. If it has a control button, this symbol, this combination will work.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. And we delete, it's obvious what that is. It's the same thing as hitting the delete key on your keyboard. If you select something and hit delete, it will. Some of these are grayed out because I do not have anything selected right now, so I can't use them. Then we select all. I showed you what that did. Find and replace. Let's say you want to replace. You're writing a document about a company named Beantown, and they decided to change their name from Beantown, one word, to Beantown, 2 words, and you want to replace every place in the document that has 1 word and replace it with 2 words. That's where you do find and replace. That's what that is. Okay. Under view, I already talked to you about the modes. This is the same thing as this little button over here on the right. Print layout, right now it doesn't really change how it looks. I don't know why that's different. Show ruler, that if you uncheck that, it will take away this ruler here at the top. Show document outline, if you uncheck that, that side part will go away, which I like to uncheck that because I don't really use the outline anyway. Show an equation toolbar. This actually is for science, for, you know, if you're doing, I guess it was for college people. If you're actually doing equations and stuff, you can do them here. Section breaks, that's it shows you can add different sections, and you can make it full screen. And as it says here, you click the escape button on your top left-hand corner of your keyboard to get it back. Okay, insert. There's a couple other things. There's the image that we talked about before. It's the same thing as this one here. But you can also insert a table and just choose how many rows and columns you want here. Drawing will let you actually physically draw on here. You can use your mouse as a little scribbly tool. You can add a chart. You can create one yourself, or you can add one in from Sheets, which is their version of Excel. Okay. You can add a horizontal line. So let's say I'm right here and I want a horizontal line here. Before there, I'm going to say insert horizontal line, and you see there it is. Wherever your cursor is, that's where it will enter the horizontal line, and that will print. That's just a nice looking thing. A footnote that will put a little thing down at the bottom if you're doing something like a college class. Special characters. Anything that's not on your keyboard, like a British pound sign, Spanish characters like the enye, things like that. Equation, that will open up that little equation toolbar. Headers and footers. You can put in a header at the top, which will put it in the margin. You normally get 1-inch margins all the way around. This will let you do something between the 1/2 inch to 1 inch. It opens up a section at the beginning where you can put stuff. And that will usually appear on all the pages. So if, let's say, you want to put your name and contact number at the top of every page, in case, you know, the pages get torn apart, you can do that. And you can remove it over here under options. Okay. And then you can just go click on the rest of the document and go back to your normal thing. You can do the footer is at the bottom. It's like the header, but it's at the foot of the page instead of the top of the page. Page numbers, you can put them here at the top right. This one is to have a blank first page, but start your page numbers in the second page. This is the bottom right, and then this is the same thing, but in the bottom. So if I click that at the bottom right in the footer, it will automatically put page numbers. Okay. And to get rid of that, you can open up the footer, go to options, and click remove footer. And that gets rid of that. Okay. Break, you can put a section break. A section break, most of the section breaks you usually don't use. It's mostly for like you can do a web page where you can jump from one section to the next, or you can put in a page break. If let's say I'm done with this page here, and instead of just hitting enter a bunch of times till I get down to the next page, I can actually insert a page break, and I will automatically be on page 2. Okay. Under format, all the things you've got here that we talked about, bold, italic, underline, and the colors are all up there too, under text. But you've also got a few things like strike through, superscript and subscript. These are usually used if you're doing citations and footnotes. But strike through will actually let you put a line through there. So you're like crossing it out. Paragraph styles. This is the exact same thing as this thing over here where it says normal text. These here, under format, paragraph styles, that's what those are. Align and indent. It's the same thing as those ones we talked about over here, alignment, and then the indent buttons here. Line spacing, same thing as over here. Here's where you can do columns. Now, if you just do it, it will apply it to the whole thing. If I just want a paragraph, I can just select that paragraph and do columns without affecting the rest of the page. Frankly, I think that it's easier to handle paragraphs if you type it all first. I mean, it's easier to handle, not paragraphs, columns. If you type it all first and then just select the part you want to put into columns and do the format columns then. Otherwise, it gets a little hard to handle if you want to stop and start columns. Bullets and numberings, that's the exact same thing as over here that we talked about here. Headers and footers. This is to apply a header and footer styles and to see how far, if you want to specify it, the header to start at 1/4 of an inch from the edge, you can do that. I don't usually bother with that part. You can format your page numbers to start at page 1, or you can, like, say maybe you want your page numbers to start at the number 35. You want to insert some pages. You can start at 35 and then the first page will have the number 35 on it. And then you can clear the formatting here, which is the exact same button as this one up here on the end. If you've got a table or a picture selected, then you can do, I've selected the picture here. I can format the image, crop it, replace it. Same things that will appear up here. So a lot of these are just repeats of stuff that will appear up on this toolbar. Tools, you have spelling and grammar, which I already said, be careful about that because sometimes it's not so great. Word count, suggested edits, that's the same thing as going through those little suggestions one by one. And various other things that you might like if you are collaboratively editing stuff with people. Add-ons, you can get various little computer program apps that will work with Google Docs to do various things. I've never felt the need. But it's there if you need it. Now, if you want to, that's all of the tools and options up here. To go back to, if you're done with it, you just click on this top little Docs Home button and they go up here. And now you will see testing for class. That's the document I was just working on. And if I'm going to come back tomorrow and work on it, I just click on it here and it will open it back up. All right. Does anybody have, I'm going to stop sharing now. Does anybody have any other questions that we didn't answer in class?
So where can you save it?
It is automatically saved right there in your Gmail. That's where it's saved. And so, okay, so let me share my screen and you can see. So now if I go to Google Okay, I go to Google or I log into my Gmail, top right-hand corner with those little dots there. I go back to Google Docs. There it is. It saves it automatically right there in your Google Docs list right there. You can also like save a copy in your Google Drive if you'd like from that download or save that download section I showed you. But here, this is where it saves it right here. It saves it on Google's computers.
So you could be on another device, could you? And then
you could go to Russia and access it using your phone. It doesn't matter.
Right, as long as you get into your Gmail account.
As long as you get into your Gmail account, you log into your Google account. There it is. Okay. Because it's not saved on your stuff, it's saved on theirs. And as long as you have access to your Gmail account, okay, you can have access to that.
Right. I don't really understand what the drive is, but I know you've got.
Google Drive is just a spot on their let me share my screen again. It's their cloud storage. So under my Drive here, it's also available from your Google account. It's one of these options here. This is just where you can store stuff. It actually apparently saved it there too. There it is. This is one I created earlier when I was just testing stuff. So those are the documents here. But I also saved other stuff there, pictures and things that I have uploaded. There's a database I have of all of my masks and when I've worn them. So your Google Drive is just a place to store stuff.
And is it like the cloud, Microsoft?
Yes, yes. What the cloud is just means that you are saving, you're saving your stuff on their computers so that you can access it from multiple places.
Right.
So when you are storing, when you do your Google Docs, you are actually storing it in the cloud on their computers, and it will save it in the Google Docs section. But you can also upload other things like pictures you take up to the Google Drive section, and you can upload anything to the Google Drive section and have them save it for you.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, if you, and that's not completely secure, of course, because Google has access to it. And legally, they can look at it. So don't put anything, don't save anything problematic, shall we say.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're better off with your Gmail account through that then.
Well, no, your Gmail account, your Gmail and your Google, all of it. Google has access to all of it.
Oh.
Because Google gives you it for free. Google, all this stuff is saved. Your Gmail is not saved on your computer. Your Gmail, all your emails are saved on Google's computers.
Okay.
And if they give you access to it and they save it on their stuff, they have the legal right to look at it, because they need to make sure you're not doing anything illegal with their systems.
Right.
So email, no email is secure ever. Somebody has the legal right to read your email. If it's through work, your company has the legal right to read your email. And if they see something they don't like, they can fire you for it. Yeah. So yeah, email is not secure. Anything that's saved on somebody else's system is not secure and is not private. So it's the big thing, but in the computer era, you have to weigh privacy versus convenience.
Mm-hmm.
Gmail and Google Docs, all of it makes it very, very convenient because you can get to it anywhere you have internet access. But very, very convenient means it's not so private.
So, but Microsoft Word is more private.
Because Microsoft Word is saved on your computer and it does not access any other computers.
Oh, right, I see. And then in order to get it somewhere else, you'd have to put it on a...
You'd have to actually email or put it on a flash drive and take it physically to the other computer or email it, which is not secure.
Right, okay. Great, thank you.
Yeah, anytime you send something over the internet, not really secure. And the more convenient it is to send it and to do it, kind of figure that the less private it is.
Right, I see.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just a good rule of thumb. Whenever you're dealing with the internet, if it's convenient, it's not private. If it's private, it's not going to be real convenient to access it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Does the Mac stuff work in the same way? I know they have their own like documents and things that you can work on.
Yeah, it does. Whether it's stored on the computer or on the internet. Whenever you send it through the internet, it becomes less secure. Whenever you save something on the internet or in the internet or on the cloud, it's less secure than it is saved on your computer.
Okay.
All right. And I actually have to get going because we close in 5 minutes. So
thank you. That was a lot of information.
You're welcome. If you want, I'm recording this. So if you want a copy of it, just email me. I'm going to turn off the recording so I don't record my